All right, so today in this Roblox scripting fundamentals video, I'm going to go over the second challenge for Yellow Belt Programmer at SimTech Game Development, and it involves using a data store to save data in between games. And we'll save off data from the leaderboard. We'll save off that information to the data store, then we'll exit the game, and when we play again, all our data from the previous games will be there. Yay! And then we'll be happy. So, first thing you need to do, publish your game. I already published mine, but go to File, hit the publish to Roblox, give it a name if you need to, and then create it or save it off. Second thing you need to do, under the Home tab, go to Game Settings. And this is important. Security, say Enable Studio Access to API Services. It tells you right here, you need the services such as DataStore. You need to check this. We'll save. Sweet. Now we're all ready to start saving data. So let's go to Server Script Service, add a regular script. All right, we'll call this Data Manager. And in our Data Manager, let's go ahead and get a Data Store Service variable, Game Get Service, Data Store Service. Now we're going to get a Data Store from the DSS. Get Data Store, look at that. My data, I'll call this 4. I did several attempts at this. This was not an easy video to make. Say local function. Now we're going to add a board to the player. Add board, right? So player will come in, local, call this board, instance, new, folder. The parent will be the player. So the board's name must be leader stats, spelled just like that. Now we'll give it an XP. We'll give the board two metrics, XP and level. So XP is going to be an int value, right? XP is integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that. The board will be the parent. The XP name will equal, I'll make this capital XP because that's what's going to show up on your leaderboard in your game. Let's go ahead and give it an initial value. Give it something other than 0. And then we'll change it to 0 after the data is saved off and see if it updates. Say local. Now we'll do one for level. Instance new. Level is also an int value, 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that. All right. Level name, there we go, equals level with a capital L. And we'll give this an initial value of, let's say, 2. So when we start the game, when we go into production, we're going to make these 0, but this is just for testing so that we can see that we have some values up there. All right, I didn't want to add parts to the world that would update the leaderboard because the video would take too long. So we need a few stub functions that we're going to fill out later. So save data player, that's going to save off our data, right? And then we'll do local function save loop, and that's going to do a periodic loop to save off data. Right, just in case we get disconnected or something happens and we don't exit gracefully from the game. All right, then we'll do local function init player, pass in the player, and here we're going to add the board, right? Then underneath here, underneath this, we're going to get data from our data store. Now we'll need to catch two events. We're going to do the player added event, connect that to init player. Then we'll do the game player removing, connect that to save data. All right, it doesn't do anything now, but let's go ahead and try the game, see if our leaderboard's up there, see if we have a 5 for XP and a 2 for level. All right, 5 and 2, that's awesome. All right, let's save off our data now. Things are moving along swimmingly. All right, so in save data, what we're going to do, we'll do that one first, even though we don't have any data to save yet. Let's do a little print statement in save data, so we know it got called. We're going to be watching that output. I'm going to initialize a table. So these are curly brackets. That's hard to see in the video, I know. All right, so I'm going to have data XP. I'm going to fill up my table and my leader stat stuff. leader stats, XP is capital for my leaderboard, value, data, level, player, leader stats, level is a capital L on our leaderboard. And then we'll do a DS set a sync, use the player's user ID as the key, and this is going to be the data we save. All right, so right now we would actually save the 5 and the 2, and that's how we're going to check, because then what we're going to do is we're going to turn these back to 0, and we'll see if our data store saved off our 5 and our 2. Let's do a while true do. We'll wait. Now in the game, you probably want this to be like 60 seconds, but for testing, make it short, like 5, so you don't have to wait that long. I'm going to do a print statement. Just say in save loop, just so we know this is looping. And then here, I'm just going to call save data, pass in the player. All right, now I'm going to go down a little bit. There's my save loop. I'm going to get the data. So we hopefully save the data off. Now, I did not use protected calls yet. We will do that. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's dangerous. It is dangerous. We're going to live vicariously though. All right. So now I'm going to get my data. When we enter the game, we're going to go DS, get async, right? That's the opposite of set async. Let's do player, user ID. That's going to maybe fill up my data, but it might be a new player. There might not be data, or it might, it might be the first time we're playing. We got data. Let's go ahead and give us a message. Now we're going to update our leaderboard. So leader stats, what is it? XP value is data XP. Player leader stats level value equals data level. Now, one last thing, let's kick off the save loop with the player. Now, the downside of this is once you start, this is never going to exit. So if you put anything underneath this, it's not going to execute. So this loop is going to run forever. All right, but we should be good. Now, we're going to save off our 5 and our 2. Then we're going to leave the game, change this number, and see if it updates to our 5 and our 2. All right, so we're in here. Let's look down here to see if we're getting anything saved off. There it goes. In save loop, in save data. Good. So we should have saved it. This is often what comes out. It's a warning that your request to save to the data store has been added to the queue. Could get dropped if there's too many things in the queue. All right, let's go ahead and exit. All right, let's make this a 0. Or make this a 0. So we add the board first, then we populate the board with saved off data. So, see, we added the board here. If we get the 5 and the 2, we know we're successful. If we get 0 and 0, we know we failed. And if we get errors, we know we failed. No errors. We got the data. There it is, the 5 and the 2. So success. So I'm going to show you one more thing that all these experienced programmers have been probably talking about me right now, because that was dangerous here. See that? That's a little bit dangerous. That's an asynchronous call. It's an HTTP call, and something bad could happen with the connection. So let's go ahead and put that in something called a protected call. All right, so we'll go here, and it's not too bad. Let's do local. Success is going to be a Boolean flag, true or false. And the message, if it's false, will be in that MSG there I put for message. So pcall, short for protected call, function, hit enter. Now I'm going to grab this. I'm going to do Control X to cut it, Control V, and now I'm just going to check to see if not success, then let's send an error. Did not save data. We'll do error. It'll be in red though. Did not save data. All right, then I'll do a comma, MSG. We'll see what the message is. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing down here in get player. This data right here, we're gonna have to move that data table outside of our pcall. So I initialized data table with the curly brackets. I'm going to do local success, just like the other one, MSG for message, pcall, an anonymous function, right? Now, I'm not going to use local. I already defined it up here, the data. I'm going to take this data right here, Control X, put it in there. Now, two bad things can happen, right? We could not have data, so we do the check for that, or we could have a failure in our pcall. So I'll say if not success, then error. Did not get the data. Did not get the data. And then do MSG. Let's make this error right here. Error. There we go. Did not get the data. Now this is safer. What you really want to do is do a loop to make sure that you don't go into the game before you have a success, and then after a certain amount, you might have to kick them out, because you don't want them to have a whole bunch of data and then find out that you had an error, and then they get initialized to 0 again. They would rage. All right, here we go. We got the data. Everything's working fine. And now our network, our calls over the network will at least indicate an error if we had problems. Alrighty, so this was a tough one. I know it. Let me know if you had any questions. This is well worth learning, though. Saving data in between games is really important.